CentralFloridaPolitics.com, where Central Florida turns for political news.
Unique in the world. And there are a lot of things that makes us unique and exceptional. Our political freedoms, without a doubt. But there's one that I want to focus on today because I think it is the one that is receiving the least amount of attention. But in my mind, it's the one that is most presented in my life. There's no doubt that the political freedoms are something I appreciate every day. You can't be raised by political exiles and not appreciate political freedom. You can't grow up surrounded by people who served 30 years in prison for passing out pamphlets, or people who had their fathers or brothers executed for speaking out against the government, and not appreciate political freedom, and I do. But I don't believe our political freedoms are the single greatest thing being threatened today. I think it is our economic freedoms, and particularly which has led to our prosperity. We begin by acknowledging that there has never been, and to this day, there is no nation, no people, or no civilization on the earth like the American nation. It's unparalleled in human history. And if anybody gets into an argument with you about it, you should just ask them a very simple question. Okay, so who would you rather be instead of the United States? Whose future would you trade for ours? Whose history would you trade for ours? And whose reality would you trade for ours? Because no matter all the things you may read that are going wrong in America, there is no place like it on the earth. For many different reasons. And our culture, I think, is a far superior culture to what you find in most of the earth, quite frankly, because it's the only culture in human history that has so consistently turned immigrants into natives. Think about the extraordinary success that America has had for 233 years of taking people from all over the world and turning them into Americans. Other nations still struggle with that concept, and in America it's become increasingly difficult over the last 15 years for a variety of different reasons. But that's unparalleled in human history. But what makes America unique to me, and today I want to talk about this, focus on it, is the fact that it is the only nation in human history where poor people can put billionaires out of business because they have a better idea and are willing to work harder as a billionaire. It's the only civilization on the earth where the day you are born, your life is not basically decided. In most societies on the earth, who your parents are, what city you're born in, and what the social class and status of your family may be, determines almost everything that will happen to you in your life. That's just the way it is. That's why the same companies and the same families have dominated the economies of Western Europe and throughout the world decade after decade. But not in America. A nation where of the S&P 500, the largest 500 stocks traded on Wall Street, of the original 500, only 70 are still on that list because they've been replaced by 430 some odd new companies who had a better idea and worked harder. Even our largest and most successful companies started out that way. Walmart was once 5 and dimes. Apple was founded in dorm rooms, just like Microsoft, by a college dropout, by the way. Facebook was started by 2 kids in a dorm room in a school somewhere, which maybe I should have stayed in college an extra year and become a billionaire. But the point is that's impossible anywhere else in the world. The second thing that makes America unique is that every generation of American has left the next generation better off. Unparalleled in human history. Every single person in this room is the children of parents or grandparents who lived a life not nearly as good as yours. And every single person in this room has seen, either in your life or the life of your parents, extraordinary sacrifices that have been taken, so that doors that were closed for them would be opened for their children, so that opportunities that you could not have, or that your parents could not have, you could have, and that opportunities you could not have, your children could have. No nation in human history has been more successful at accomplishing that than America. Why is that? Is it because we're smarter than the rest of the world? Is it because God loves America more than He loves Italy, for example? Of course not. We're neither smarter, nor God loves us anymore. It's back. Now it's on. There you go. I might have gotten a little too excited. Did I kick that? Is that what happened? Of course not. At home, everything's my fault, so Why are these things true in America? It's very simple. It actually tracks its way back to our founding documents. The Declaration of Independence, in particular, is an extraordinary document, and the one piece of it that didn't get a lot of attention at the time, but today is truly breathtaking, is the opening lines that talk about, we know this truth to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Just that very notion alone was truly revolutionary. In fact, it was treason. It was treason to say that your rights as a person came from your Creator. Your rights came from the king. Your rights came from the government. Your rights came from the fact that the people who owned you, or were the lords of the land that you lived on, allowed you to have any rights at all. And this idea that somehow, no, every single human being has rights, and those rights come from the Creator, was not just revolutionary, it was downright treason. It could cost you your life and that of your family. And yet they did not only say that, they put it in writing. They went on to say that we're going to need to have a government in America. And the reason that we're going to have a government is to protect those unalienable rights. Not to grant those rights, not to recognize those rights, to protect those rights. And then went on to finish by saying, and this government that we're going to set up to protect those rights, the only power this government's going to have is the power that we, the individuals, endowed with these rights from our Creator, allow that government to have. It's a very simple concept. We have rights that come from God. Government exists to protect those rights, and the only power that government has is the rights that we, the individual, give it. Period. You appreciate that. Most people don't talk about that anymore. They forget about that. They forget about what that has led to. That's led to something very simple. When you believe those things, when those are the cornerstones of the founding of your very nation, then someone who's born into poverty cannot possibly accept that this is what they will be the rest of their lives. Because they know in their heart that they have potential and desires and ambition to be something more than that. But the different, and I think that's universally true. That's true all over the world. People every day all over the world wake up and realize that they were meant to be more than what they are. The difference between us and them is that in those countries, I don't care what their constitutions may say, and many of those countries, they don't really believe that that person has the right to be who they were meant to be. They believe that that person was born in a station in life and that's where they belong. In America, we not only accept that, we expect you to emerge beyond the circumstances. In fact, we don't understand when people don't. Because we believe that every single human being, it doesn't matter who you were born to, what your parents did for a living, it doesn't matter that your dad used to sleep on milk crates in the storeroom of a 5 and dime in Cuba. You can run for U.S. Senate. It doesn't matter that your parents used to sweep floors or work factories. You can own factories. We believe that because we believe that your rights don't come from your social status or your government. It comes from your Creator. And the power comes from the individual. Now that's just the first part of the equation. The second part of the equation is you actually have to have a limited government that respects that. And there's where the problem lies. That today in America we have people that do not believe in the power of the individual to arise beyond the circumstances of their birth. They believe that the only way an individual can fulfill their God-given potential is if the government fulfills it for them. They believe that the only way that our economy can function is if our government ends up running more of it. And here's the bottom line. Forget about the social aspects of it now. The economic aspects are that there is no government on earth who has been able to successfully run a vibrant economy. Because the more of the economy the government controls, the more the government picks the winners and the losers. And when government picks the winners and the losers, the billionaires win, but not the little guy trying to put the billionaire out of business with a better idea. And government in America today is increasingly picking the winners and the losers. Now, I want to be blunt with you about this because I think we need to be honest with one another. Republicans in Washington have been guilty of this. In 1994, the Republican Party was elected on a contract with America. By 2000, the Republican Party had the House, the Senate, and the White House. And yet we still don't have term limits at the federal level. We still don't have a balanced budget amendment. We still don't have meaningful tax reform like a fair tax or a flat tax. None of these things happened. It was inexcusable. And the American people said you ran as Ronald Reagan Republicans and you've governed as Lyndon Johnson. And so we don't... The Democrats lie about who they are. They don't run as leftists. They don't run as liberals. They run as center of the road moderates. That 93% of people are going to get a tax cut. Or 97, what was the number? 90-something percent. 95% of Americans are going to get a tax cut. But since that time, we have seen, literally, the most radical, big government agenda in the modern history of this country. Certainly in my lifetime. An agenda that today, through both taxes and spending, picks the winners and losers in our economy and makes it harder and harder every day for someone to start their own business. Makes it harder and harder every day. Why? On tax policy, it's pretty simple. Warren Buffett will admit to you, as he has publicly, that many years he pays less as a percentage of